Hey there. I wanted to do a brief synopsis on our past road trip to Arkansas, particularly the Ozarks. And I just wanted to give you my opinion on the state of Arkansas. Why Arkansas, of all the states that you could be looking for land at, why Arkansas? And we went into Arkansas through the northwestern corner. First thing we noticed is lots of water. Lots of water is very important for preppers. Colorado, you don't get that much water. You can actually go quite the stint without remembering the last time it rained. But we noticed that collecting water and having water on your property is very probable living in Arkansas. When we were there, it was sunny and beautiful, high 90s, but you're mostly in the shade. There's so many trees and everything. If you're in the woods, you're definitely noticing the humidity there. When you are driving through Arkansas, especially the northern part around Eureka Springs, you notice that it's rolling hills. There's no direct route to anywhere in Arkansas unless you're on Highway 40, it appears. So we kind of like that. People coming and going, they're not just gonna accidentally end up in these parts of the woods, so to say. It's gonna take a lot of intention to get to your property in northern Arkansas. It's mountainous region, either going uphill or you're going downhill. It's not quite like southern Missouri, which I really like, but they're a little on the blue side of the political spectrum, so that's a no-go for us. So besides the ins and outs, getting into your property and getting out of your property, there isn't really a large amount of cities around there. There's Tulsa, there's Springfield to the north in Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, of course. There's Dallas, Texas, down in the southwestern corner of the state. Then you have Memphis, but you got to cross the Mississippi to get to it. Up here in the Ozarks, I wouldn't say it's isolated. I just say there's a lot of country up there. And your chances of finding property up there that's secluded and isolated and perhaps has a nice long driveway is you're gonna have a high chance of finding something like that up there. What we also notice is compared to the southern part of Arkansas, we notice it's a lot more humid up north, which we kind of like. The one thing that would put me off from buying up in that property is I'm really looking for a higher grow zone than I'm accustomed to here in Colorado. Southern Arkansas gets down to the 7B, 8 grow zone. The woods are definitely lush. You're gonna have lumber, you're gonna have stone, you're gonna have water. All those three important things. The first two definitely for building your own structure. So I was looking on the internet and you can actually get a lumber mill, a portable lumber mill for planing out logs for $2,000. That is actually a great deal because if you bought a small lot of land, you'd be able to mill out your own lumber, build your own cabin, put in place those important things like compost toilets, water catching systems, build whatever size house you wanted. Of course, you'd have to look up the building code. There was a few places that are unrestricted. If you look for land that's unrestricted, you might not have all those laws that tell you have a minimum square footage to build with, and you might not have those limits, so you can pretty much build a shed if you wanted to there, if you don't intend to live there. I also noticed that the acreage was more expensive south of Interstate 40. Northern Arkansas, you can get property averaging around $6,000 an acre. Food costs down there is unbelievably cheap. You can get really good food for not a lot of money. The other thing that you're gonna notice is that you could probably actually survive there without going to the grocery store. We were looking at rivers. They're filled with fish. If you had a fishing license and you just went for it, you could probably bring home several fish to cure and store for later eating consumption. And also there's wildlife of all sorts down there that if you had a hunting license, you could easily live off of the wildlife that's down there. Yeah, that's a benefit, that's a plus. You're living out there, things get hectic. You have to seal off in your house, in your own little bubble, your acreage, and you might be able to actually survive just off that wildlife. The other thing that we notice is snakes down there, copperhead, cottonmouth rattlesnakes, and I looked it up on the internet, and they have over 15 different species of poisonous snakes alone, so be aware of that. Don't be walking in the woods with shorts on. Perhaps you're going to want to get those big leather boots. Southern Arkansas, they do have alligators, so just be aware of that if you're buying land down there. So I was really surprised I didn't see more, rebel flag carrying people and stuff you see on the news. They want you to make it seem like they're just all extremists down there, Don't go through Arkansas, they're all extremists, racists, and I didn't see that at all. We concluded that, yeah, this would be an awesome place to have a prepper cabin of some sort, have some land to park an RV on, build a tiny house perhaps. It's isolated enough. There is small towns around that if you did buy property in that area, you would be able to get supplies. Food is cheap, food is delicious down there. It's mostly barbecue that we found, but they do have everything else. There is wildlife to live off of. You can buy property that's so isolated that you have your own gravel road and clear it out, have all that lumber, that timber to work with. You're going to be able to have any of those guns that you want to keep. You're going to be able to have land to protect, and probably a great place to raise a family. One thing that really gives me a doubt that I'll ever buy land there is because of the grow zones. I particularly want to grow tropics, and I want to grow citrus, and I want to grow certain things that you're not going to be able to grow there. I might as well just stay here in Arvada if I want to just grow those things. However, they do get more rain, and I imagine the climate is a little less harsh as it is here in the winter, but maybe I'm wrong. We didn't go there in the winter, we went there in the summer. So I would probably say I wouldn't buy property there as a prepper. You might consider it a great place. I actually have talked to retired military, and they say there's a huge military, like ex-generals, ex-majors, lieutenants, sergeants, that swear that lower Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee is like the prime place for having a prepper property because of the elevation. You're out of the flood zones, you have high ground, and you have that limited access into those mountain areas it's easier to protect. It's like a castle fortress, right? So they swear that that's where they're going to buy their property. It's cheap in comparison to like Colorado, where you're looking at $100,000 for an acre. But yeah, I would say I'm going to keep on looking for property in other places. Maybe we will take a road trip through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida and check out land in those areas also. I just wanted to give you my quick recap on the Ozarks of Arkansas and maybe save you a trip, or maybe you want to go out there and check it out yourself. It's a beautiful state, beautiful, beautiful. Like I said, because they still have a winter, it might be a letdown for me. And I'm really looking for the higher 7 and 8 grow zones, and that's what I'm really looking for.